Hey YouTube, Mark Kaufman here, and today I have a really just a interesting thought. And this is going to be an open tag event. This is just going to be, I'm not sure yet on what I'm going to title this, but this is going to be, okay, I've got it. This video is going to be about the knife that you carried in your youth. Now, let me be a little upfront about it. I am 27 years old, so I guess I'm still considered a youth. I'm not 14, 13, 12, but I'm younger than most here on YouTube, and younger than most there in this hobby. But I did carry a knife when I was younger. When I was about, I think, 7, maybe even 7 or 8, my dad bought me my first knife. Now, we bought this knife in a Boy Scout, supply shop, and they just had a few knives and a few other brands. And I should have bought a Victorinox. I really do feel like I should have bought a Victorinox or a Wenger, but I was captivated by a blue-handled bone knife, which was a Steel Warrior Choctaw. And I do not have this knife anymore. I don't know what happened to it. I don't know if it broke or if I lost it or if I gave it to somebody and they never returned it. I don't know. But the next knife that was in line was actually this knife, this Wenger. Now, this Wenger is a knife that I carried, I believe, from when I was 14 up until probably when I was 13 up until I was about almost 17. And I carried this exclusively on my keys. Now, that I have to admit, yes, this is a relatively large knife to be just carrying on your keys. And I'll just do a quick comparison here. We will compare it to the Rough Rider RR 461, which is a little bit of a compact lockback. And let me adjust that lighting there. Here is a standard trapper styled knife that's from Rough Rider. And then here is a 111 millimeter Victorinox. So, I mean, it's not a big knife, but it was enough at that time to get the job done. Now, let me pull all these away here. And this knife here was what I carried exclusively. I carried this everywhere I went. Everything I did, this knife went with me. Now, I don't really specifically have a specific memory with this knife. This knife was a tool for me, and I used it like that. This thing has been sharpened numerous times. You can see it's kind of got a little bit of a recurve there. I personally, I didn't use the knife blade all that much. A knife for me was not a pry bar. It was just something that would open up packages, or it would cut paper if I needed to cut paper. But I'd never really used this for fruits or anything like that, because it was mostly a utility knife for me. It wasn't a food prep knife. So I used the blade for many, many things. And then for the can opener, I used the can opener a lot. When my parents and I would go camping, I would use this almost exclusively. I like the turnkey can openers, but there's just something about doing it manually and really working for it that kind of adds to the end result of whatever meal you're making. So that can opener got a lot of use, and I think the one tool that got the most was actually this screwdriver. Now, this utilizes now a Victorinox ownership of this, but it was originally a Wenger invention, and it is that this screwdriver here, and I'm gonna try and find something. Well, when you would press against this screwdriver, this actually would collapse a little bit into the handle and lock in place. So you had a relatively good screwdriver on your hands whenever you needed that. So I used this a ton, and I did use it a lot to open bottles, and I also used this as not a pry bar, but if you had to like pry something open, I would also use this hook for that. Wenger's bottle opener was really, really good. I really preferred it over Victorinox. And then the nail file. I did use the nail file quite a bit. I mean, for nail care, I did use this a lot as a Phillips head screwdriver. It did a wonderful job on that. So I did get a lot of use out of that. And then the other tool that I got a ton of use out of was this Phillips head in the back. I don't really prefer having a Phillips head on the back end of my knives very much anymore. I prefer the corkscrew just because I really do enjoy wine, and I usually can use a flat head if I had to facilitate the need for a Phillips head. So there was that, and then the reamer. I don't really remember using this all that much. This was very, very seldom used, but this was the knife I carried, and I carried this in my school. I carried this at the gym. I carried this when I was out and about. I mean, I carried this everywhere. And I think what I would love is if you guys had a knife or still have a knife that you carried in your youth, I'd love to hear about it. And if you're not on YouTube making videos, but you're out there watching videos, comment down below, and I would love to hear your story of what knife your father may have given you, or maybe your mother gave you, and see where we all fall in this use of knives. I mean, like I really was attracted to a Victorinox knife or a Swiss Army knife, and at that time I didn't really know the difference between Wenger or Victorinox. I just knew that this was a Swiss Army knife, this would get the job done, and it did a good job doing it. I didn't really care about keeping it pretty at all. And I don't carry this one much at all. Really, it's more of a memory than a tool anymore, but I love pulling it out and thinking about all the times I did use this and how many times it actually got me out of a well, not a bad situation, but a situation where I didn't have a tool. So that is my video discussion. It was a little bit of a review of this knife. I have discussed this knife before, but I want to hear about what knives you guys carried when you were younger, and if you still have that knife today. So that is it for this one. I will talk to you guys later in the next video. Till then, bye-bye.